Hello, and welcome once again to Exit Strategy. This is the podcast where we ask comedians, hey, what would you do with your life if comedy was no longer a part of it? What are you going to shift all your energies toward when you're not in that grind? Going out there, performing, writing, being the comedian that you know you can be. That's the question we ask each and every week, and this week we're asking it to J.C. Coccoli. I've known J.C. for quite some time. I think I met JC probably back in 2008 or 9. It's been a while. Oh, wow, a decade plus. Woof. But I remember we all knew JC back in the day as the host of the Public House show in Los Feliz, California. And really, if you ask a certain demographic of comedians right now, several of them that are on TV now and writers' rooms all over, they'll all look back fondly on those days when we would go to the Public House to end our nights drunkenly at a bar show in Los Feliz that was hosted by J.C. Coccoli. And I think what's notable about that show is that it was very hard, very thankless, and J.C. was the master of ceremonies for a show that really you never knew what the environment was going to be like. She was the conductor of that show, and the audience was always a hit or miss. You didn't know what was going to happen. It was a giant room, one of those 50 tap kind of bars where, real big, long bar, a lot of rooms, a lot of space for laughs to die. And JC came up there, and really, I think it developed her style because she's a very in the moment, very extemporaneous, and very fun comic to watch because she's very with you right there in the room. She's going to follow that moment as it happens. And those are the kind of comedians that I think I have a soft spot in my heart for because I'd like to think that's kind of what I like to do when I go on stage. It's just so much fun to play around with the people that you're performing for and not just recite the bits. That's just one man's opinion. I don't know. Anyway, I get to talk to JC here. She has become a comedian over that time, and now she's sort of already kind of doing the exit strategy. She's shifting her energies from performance to now she's doing a lot more work in the climate change space where she's able to advocate for sort of get the word out. She's able to use her abilities as a host and a producer and a comedian to spread the word of this looming climate change disaster that we're all trying to fight against. So she's able to use all of these comedy skills that used to be coming in handy to keep drunks at bay and to silence the room and to make people laugh, and now she's using it for good instead of evil. Comedy is evil. Anyway, we're going to find out more about JC and take a little stroll down memory lane right after this. Here we go. Coccoli's got to get hydrated because she just came from boxing class.
Came from boxing.
I shouldn't call it class. Was it class or was it just did you pick a fight?
No, it's a class for sure. And I actually have not been back in a while, but you pick it right back up.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting hobby. Is that a good workout? I'm sure it is.
I'm pretty tired from it. I think as I get more and more strong, I become kind of addicted to the rush adrenaline that it gives me. But I'm no Joe Rogan.
He kind of has like a bloodlust. You know what I mean?
Is that when you like to see blood?
I think he kind of likes the violence a little too much. Whereas I think it sounds like you only like the boxing for the cardiovascular part of it.
Cardiovascular, self-defense, stage work to stretch my body out. I feel quite empowered. I'm flawed at push-ups. I'm flawed.
You don't got the
I got beaks for arms. I got beaks for arms, and I have such a personality and such a drive to have big arms, but I don't like lift weights of any kind. So boxing does give me strength in its own way.
Well, you could lift weights. I'm just throwing that out as a solution to your problem.
I know.
I'm just saying.
I've never been that person that like lifted weights unless I was on my softball team, like through high school, maybe college.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, then life hits you and you're like, weights, I've got enough weight with baggage from my family.
I've always found weightlifting to be very boring. It's a very repetitive activity, and I could never, because some people just dig into it.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, I mean, that could be me soon, but I just know for right now, boxing, it clicks a lot of boxes for me.
I would love it if you did get really buff, though, and you like always carried around a big jug of distilled water at all times.
There is a part of that in me.
Yeah?
I definitely think there's the athletic Jess, and then there's JC. Athletic Jess has that power, has that desire to be buff and strong. I have a great arm.
Yeah.
I have an excellent hand-eye coordination. I can catch things super quick, throw things super quick.
But that's Jess.
That's Jess.
JC, the comedian, the artist,
is not throwing things, catching things that much anymore.
She realizes, boxing is not for her; it's for Jess.
Yeah, it's for Jess, and yeah, I like the way that I can really, if I want to dig in about anger, politics of any kind, boxing's a great way to do it. Because then I'm like, oh, I've got it out. I'm pretty mellow.
It kind of relieves that tension and stress a little bit.
Yeah, because there's a little Pittsburgh in me where I'm like, I was kind of born to fight, like a. There's
scrapper.
Like a little bit of a scrapper. And you didn't mean to be a scrapper. You were just raised to be a scrapper.
It seems like a scrappy town.
It's a scrappy town. Yeah. Responsible for the Industrial Revolution, created climate change, and is now trying to turn it around.
Turn it around. Be known for something more than just climate change.
Exactly.
Yeah. Carbon.
That carbon emissions and Koch brothers pollution and so Scrappy Cokes, Scrappy Coke 2 shows over here.
JC Scrappy Cokes Coccoli. Are you ready to rumble? Do you want to lay down a challenge to anybody publicly? I mean, do you want to meet anyone in the ring?
Yeah, Omarosa.
Okay. Omarosa, you heard it
here. It's still Omarosa. It's always going to be Omarosa. I feel like her and I would have a good go.
8 rounds.
8 rounds, me and O.
Me and Big O.
Me and Big O. And I think she has a lot of that chutzpah that you need in boxing too. So that'd be a good fight. And you get scrappy and you have a mutual respect after. You don't know who you are until you've been punched.
You're going to become best friends with Omarosa after you guys beat the living hell out of each other.
Well, there's a strategy to it, I would hope. She doesn't just go strictly to hurting me.
Do you actually, is it just sparring or have you actually gotten in there and done it?
Well, so that's the thing is that I think there's different stages. Any boxing coach would probably tell you the same. There's, the boxing classes that get your body lean and fit. And then your stamina and your balance and your ability to square off and get the motions right with your hips and etc. Then you begin to spar with the coaches, so you can wear the headpiece, etc. And if you get knocked in the face, it really does
it'll get you.
It'll get you. I definitely got mad. I was like, this was so bad. Why did I? This is a terrible hobby.
That sounds like a fun motivator, though, fitness-wise, because there's one reason why I will never take a spin class. I don't want that positive motivation.
Yeah, that skill, too.
I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm getting anger...
Yeah,
that might push me.
That's what I'm saying. And then then you watch, then you start to watch these Marvel movies with a little bit of I can do that.
Watch out, ScarJo.
And that's exactly it too. It's like the ScarJos where I have my actress friends that do a lot of sci-fi and stunt shows and it's they have to get buff for it and they get really into character from it. And I'm just trying to be a comedian that plays a boxer in one movie.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, whoever wants to write it, I can probably do
Make it. It's interesting too because comedy has a long tradition of male comics who get buff and then instantly we're like, I don't know about this. But I don't think we've ever seen I'm talking about your Piscopos, your Carrot Tops. It's always a weird fit.
Got it. But Carrot Tops.
We've never seen a buff female comic, have we? Has that happened yet?
Let's see.
Guns.
I'm sure we can probably get. If we went on Twitch right now, we can probably get a lot of answers to that. And it would just fire off.
Yeah.
I would say that
I don't know.
Jada Pinkett Smith is not a stand-up, but she is one of the buffest
well,
women.
Yeah, there's buff women. I'm just saying, like, I've never seen a buff
stand-up. Well, I know that there are strong stand-ups that I've seen like work out hard, but in my lifetime, like, who knows who was like, jacked.
I want to see someone jacked.
I challenge myself to be the first ever jacked
female stand-up comedian.
Yeah, because why not?
Well, as long as you don't also take on sort of the alpha persona where you get a little Republican-y.
I can't stop that if it happens.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're committed to the ride. That's fair. I respect that you're not going to skew it in any way. You're just going to ride it.
I'm going to ride it. I'm going to see what it feels like. I'm going to try that skin on. I'm going to see if I can approach it from hey, let's talk about this before we fight, but we're definitely fighting.
I'll be sensitive to a point, but at some point we got to unlock these guns and test them out.
Yeah. And by the way, when I say this, it's like I've been talking about this on a couple of podcasts where I'm like, when I say this, I'm not saying it to people like get out there and kill each other. It's like sometimes a little scrap is kind of good for the soul. If you don't take it knife or bow and arrow, machete.
Well, there's rules to boxing. It's a contest.
It's a
contest. It's a gentlewomanly. It's a sport for us all.
Yeah, it's a sport for us all, and I do think what a joy to just get whack a dude for a second.
Get back there in the ring. where things make sense. I can't wait for you to do a boxing, weightlifting. I like this new direction.
You do?
Yeah, I think that the future's bright in that respect. But I wanted to catch up with you about the past. Let's talk about it a little bit because I've known you for a long time.
I was just talking to Dave Ross about this. I was like, do you guys think it's 14 years?
No.
Maybe less?
It's probably been more than 10, but less than 14.
Okay.
But you were at one point sort of like part of everybody on the East Side's comedy journey, just to set the scene.
Yeah, set the scene.
What was it? Monday night or was it Tuesday night?
It was Monday night.
It was Monday night.
Yeah.
Monday nights. In Hollywood, East LA comedy scene back in the 2009, 10, 11 kind of era.
That's exactly the era.
When a lot of us and a lot of the people that have been on this show were starting out. We were young pups. This is what your night would be on a Monday night. Okay. You'd go to your open mic first because you gotta grind. You'd go to your open mic where the sun is still out and it's depressing. But then you'd leave there. You'd go to the What's Up Tiger Lily show at Gower Gulch.
Yes.
Which was 4.5 hours long. But you'd watch that, and it was a lot of headliners, and it was a scene, and you'd see all your friends. But then from there, the night always ended at the Public House for J.C. Coccoli's show.
Yes.
Which was Keep It Clean. Was that the name?
Keep It Clean. And I thought I was so clever at the time writing Keep It Clean because I was like, you want to put us on late night? Well, we'll practice keeping it clean.
Was that a real theme at the show at one point?
Yeah, that was the idea. Was that I set the bar high immediately. Like, I want that show to be where people that are working on late night sets come to get their tight 540. Which coincidental is that I still have yet to have a late night set. But it's
you were facilitating for others.
And I was facilitating for us and learning and watching and navigating the space, but also in real time navigating a wild bar that was consistently evolving in its atmosphere and hundreds of beer selections and wild audience members. And sometimes it would be packaroonied.
Yeah.
Packaroony, and we'd have the show of a lifetime, and then sometimes something would happen.
Yeah. It was...
Something would happen.
You never knew.
And I just... Either it went well or it debilitated us all.
Yeah, but you were the captain of that ship. Oh. And, I mean, I don't know. I really hope the listener, if you haven't been to... And it's not even there, actually. It's a different place.
Yeah.
But imagine a bar show. But that was a big, big, big bar show. That was a huge room.
Pittsburgh could take it on.
But, I mean, bar shows are already hard.
Yeah.
You're already working with a lot of different things, taking people's focus from the stage. The bigger the bar, the harder it is, the more cavernous it is. But you were there every single damn week.
Yeah.
manning that ship.
Yes. Yes, I have.
It may have taken a few years off your life.
Yeah, but it showed me so much about what is actually being bought on television now. Like that idea of presenting a show concept. We went through eras where we had pizza giveaways and beer giveaways, which still go on to this day. And then the evolution of the bar itself. Like, luckily, I made good with the owner, which means a lot in this town. Yeah. And you keep your distance in whatever ways because you're trying to navigate a show. But, like, I mean, it's still going on today. It's like still like eight years
still
now.
A show, yeah.
Yeah, it like brought me good times and absolute memories of horrendous moments. Like, just things would go missing. Like your equipment, you'd put it there and then it'd be gone. And it's because like someone had a birthday party or a quinceañera up the street, so they borrowed the equipment because it's like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then they have to send a bar back up in Los Feliz to get it.
Well, at least you got it there. I mean, you
sometimes.
didn't. Well, that's true. Sometimes, every once in a while, your show's just like, we're no mic today.
Yeah, we're no mic tonight.
We're no mic.
Yeah, we did keep a record of continuing no matter what. And I think that was that when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, that's great. I'm glad I walked away when I did because to start whatever shows elsewhere.
Yeah.
Evolving is so cool. And the more I'm watching it, I'm like, these shows, we can make cool shows forever.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be in the same format, but I'm shopping a show idea now at an art gallery in downtown LA because I'm like feeling downtown LA in this time, in this era for kind of creativity and, speaking out about injustices. It's right there in front of you. And I like pairing like art and local creative boutique style clothing and fashion and stuff. So that's something I was exploring too. And how that's going to be.
Like the journey was to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And each job that I've gotten, whether it was supervising producer for Rachel Zoe, who was at the time top and probably is still, and she would be like, yeah, bitch.
If she's listening.
If you're listening,
JC is about to correct herself.
Yeah. Because it's like you get to work for these powerhouses, and they're real powerhouses, and you're in the room with Reese Witherspoon all of a sudden, and you're navigating this as a producer because I've produced Public House.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? You just get these weird skills that are so you can't define them at all.
No, and to put them on a resume too, I found that to be like as a.
Oh no, we're getting a podcast or something.
My Siri, my New Zealand Siri. Just spoke up.
Siri, keep it down. We can't clear you legally.
Yeah.
But you learn all these skills as a producer that you don't really know that you have. You put it on your resume. I just 2 years ago started making it oh, this is a job skill. It's,
we didn't have the internet when you and I started.
No.
No, and I laugh because Eddie Pepitone will probably laugh harder. That joke can go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. Because the more we got to see how everybody was navigating their ways of financially providing for themselves, we had to turn on the TV and see a couple of skills, read a newspaper, maybe read a new skill. Then when the explosion of well, watch me do my skill, and then you can see if you have that skill.
Yeah.
Then it was oh, I've got so many skills. I'm a food and wine connoisseur for how much I explained the menu at Public House to people.
We're like little experts in these tiny things. And it's just so rare that you put it down on a list of paper as a list and say, oh, there's cumulatively, I've learned quite a bit from doing this stand-up comedy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and did shifts, there are times where I'm I really love the club life, the nightclub comedy life. And then there are times where I'm I think I'd prefer a 4-day Burning Man-esque shows where it's just giving and glitter, but not packed.
Yeah. Well, you want to do a variety of things. You don't want to be always Burning Man comedy producer. That's going to get taxed.
You're right.
A lot.
And it's unhealthy. Probably.
Yeah, you don't want to be. You got to in moderation.
Redwood Forest.
Redwood Forest. I'll get that clean. Redwood Forest comedy.
Redwood Forest comedy. Trees and oxygen. Yeah, I've learned a lot from that place.
When you started, though, when you started the Public House, how much into comedy had you been at that point? Where were you?
I would say it was probably maybe like a little less than a year in.
So you must have learned, that's trial by fire. That is a lot.
Yeah, right in. I would say, well, if it was 2009, I would say 2009. Yeah, I'd say about 6 months. But I was working at the Laugh Factory in 2005. And I was working there as a booker during the day, cocktail waitress at night. I lived in the apartments, and then they also let me let me host the midnight show every now and then. So I was learning in real time because I do believe my personality was quite big, as you would imagine.
It still is.
Yeah, and I loved it, and I listened to it, and I absorbed it, and I dove right in. But the rules and the et cetera, I didn't know. I just knew that I felt the urge to construct a joke in one specific way.
You knew the rhythms of it, it seems like.
Yeah.
You picked that up.
I picked that up, and the engagement of how to work with a human being in a way I would like to do. The situations that I got in as a host allowed me to see a room for what it is very quickly and to know how to navigate that energy, to see it go from one place to another, which it helped my directing skills and helped my show running capabilities to know and empathize pretty on the spot.
Yeah.
It sharpened skills that make me a really good communicator.
Yeah, it's true. And you definitely developed as a host. And I think that, I don't know how you feel about that as an adjective for you now, but I think definitely at that point, I think people would be like, oh, J.C. Coccoli, host, back then. And it's probably because you had to adapt to so many different environments, so many different kinds of audiences, situations. And you also, is that where your style developed? Because you're very in the moment. I mean, you'll jump off of a topic.
You'll never see it again. You'll never see it again. And sometimes, there were times where I had to hone that in, and sometimes it would really work to my benefit as I'm constructing this hour cold country that I'm taking to London and this Sunday, which is their inaugural London Climate Action Week. So I'll do the hour. And as I was piecing that together, I watched my riffs in real time, and I learned where I can pinpoint and navigate. I'm under the impression that I'm one day going to be able to always have a monitor. I just want to be a monitor comedian that they just track me a bit and then they go, okay, now cover this. Yeah. Because I do believe I am in the moment, training that to be skillful and responsible to the shoot, responsible to the project. That's so important. I learned that in real time on the shows that I've worked on. So there's a professional-ism to it. But, then there's that when I have to be on, say, 30 Days Edinburgh or a festival or a Conan set that we have to get tight, I'm learning how to navigate my voice for that. It's its own puzzling.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It really is.
To find what you want to, and what you want to say to the world.
To define yourself in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes? So they know that you've worked hard and you're kind and you are smart and thoughtful. And we are getting sharper at it because we're growing and projects are coming in and we're shaping who we are. But there's always a chance we're going to fuck up. And I think that diligence of those shows taught me to be diligent for the workforce, because it wasn't always going to be me getting catapult to fame. I'm working in real time work as a comic. I have friends that are just on the road every single day. I'm like, wow, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. It's that's a life. I mean, God bless them. I don't know that I could do it. I think. Because I feel a certain kinship to you in that hosting in the moment style.
Oh, I think that we were similar coming up.
I think we're very similar. I've always just grappled with the... I mean, you'll see it in my face. Mm-hmm. My enthusiasm when there's a new toy to play with in the room of this is going to be discussed, this audience member, that noise... You can see the joy in my face.
That noise.
But then going back to the material, it's just I want to live in that world where it's just, let's explore this. But then you can't... I don't think I've ever maybe Rory Scovel.
Oh
maybe,
yeah, he threaded really well.
but
John Doerr.
It's hard to make that into like all right, this is for the festival, this is for the
Sure.
submission, this is for the late night set. It's very hard to take that very specific skill and prove that you can do it every time.
Yeah. I'm exploring writing monologues for myself right now and starting to phrase it in my brain as writing a monologue.
Yeah.
I'm playing with that because it made it less stressful than like set up, punch, joke. Because I remember I would like have nightmares that people were like, her setup's too long. And I had to learn that on my own. And still wrestle with it to this day because I have a moment and I'm, I think I'm fucking Gloria Estefan up there. I'm like, all hail what I'm about to say.
Do that conga.
Do that conga. Da, 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 da. But I think that's what's really enjoyable to me about working in climate a lot more. To segue even perfectly into that was I began to explore what I loved most, which was Grand Canyons and the oceans and earth and redwood forests. And I found a sense of peace in the lifestyle of that and was like, hippie millennial, how do I make that my future? Yeah. How do I make that my future? And I've begun to work, more in climate work in general across the board, clean energy, future of green, and was getting more work inside that space. And really it just began to pop like popcorn. And I found like the gates opened and I was like, oh my God, this is my mission. This is my mission, like to find those in this, because those to me were people that it was like bigger.
Yeah.
And it just felt right. Now what that looks like on paper that's what's great about kind of creating in that space. You have so much to work with, and I'm challenging myself to do that. So
yeah, it's the evolution. It's the new JC.
It's the Jess. Jess is coming.
It's Jess. Oh, is there? Now I don't want to get too like into your therapy session, but is there a Jess and a JC? And who am I talking to right now?
You're so funny. I know. I know I'm a consciousness. That's what I am. I'm a consciousness, and then my names like represent times, I think, in like from childhood on. But I wouldn't be like, Jess is talking now.
Yeah.
Or like, Jess has something to say to you.
Hold on.
Jessica
I'll
doesn't like, I'll get her. Yeah.
I should mention that JC has come in. Her shirt is split in half down the middle. One color on one side, one on the other. Her face is painted right down the middle.
I have a mustache.
A mustache on one side and an elegant gown on the other side.
Us ladies. Yeah, so that I do have nightmares about public house. I mean, not to bounce back, but I have had moments from like, what?
Oh, PTSD.
PTSD.
Yeah.
Sometimes on shows it'll hit me where I'm like, ugh. Is this going to turn?
But you could host a show at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
Do you like hosting, or is it? Give me your take on hosting a comedy show.
I think I am.
And be honest.
Of course, I believe so much that if I were given, which I have been given, money to work and produce and conceptualize what a cool show would be, I'm starting to learn that my take is actually quite fun and unique. Mm-hmm. So to work on that, I enjoy the idea of hosting. I also enjoy being able to dress like this and be able to direct it.
Yeah.
And have young
hands off, let someone else
Gen Z skin come on in. Because that's what, I mean, Dax Shepard's hosting a game show. It's like, what are we up against?
Yeah.
As hosts. What are we up against right now? And I don't even know if I'm complimenting. I think I am.
I don't know either. That's why I was a little confused.
I don't know.
Is Dax Shepard a high bar or a low bar?
I don't know.
Because he's very charming, but he's different than what I'm thinking of when I think of a traditional host.
Me too. And that's why I'm like, what even is that anymore? And so the answer is yes, I do enjoy it. I enjoy a gig. I've tried in the last years to only take gigs that are 10, 15 minutes if I can get that.
Yeah.
And to make more requests for 20-minute to 30 minutes. If I'm working on something, I know 8 minutes is worth our time. I'm trying to write and film in those 8 minutes now. If we go out and do a show, I'm making that effort to have it on Instagram maybe in the next week. Learning that tool and editing it myself if the message or the joke is on brand for what I'm working on right now. Yeah. I'm trying to just be a machine about it. I'd love an assistant who gets my voice.
Well, I mean, we're putting it out to the world. Perhaps somebody out there submit your resumes.
Fan base, submit your resumes to me. Cocoa Puffs, my fan base.
All right. Now, that would be the dream, obviously. The pinnacle of entertainment success is obviously to have an assistant. Imagine your life and the changes that would make if you had that.
What do you work on if you have somebody else that does all the stuff? What do you get to do?
You get to just be the best you.
You get to
commit all of your energies to your art and yourself.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to take away the art.
Yeah, it's gone.
I'm taking away, well, not all art. I'm just going to take away comedy for now. We're going to talk about a world where J.C. Coccoli is not a comedian. She's got you obviously, we put in a lot of time evolving in this comedy space. Now, that's a lot of energies that have been put towards one goal. Now you got to steer that ship in another direction. Where are we going? What are we doing? What's the exit strategy? What path are you going down if comedy's not there?
I really believe that I would have been very smart and tactical. Mm-hmm. I know that I would have, a scientist, easily a scientist.
We're talking about, you're going back to, had comedy not happened, we're going back to the past.
Had comedy not happened, right? Is that what we're doing?
This is how you're answering the question, and this is how we're doing it. Everyone does it a different way.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I can go, because I don't want to say that it was all the way up till high school and then I shifted.
Yeah.
I would say that the decision being made when I was playing with rocks and watched Jurassic Park and I was like, I'm going to be an archaeologist. Then I would, look at what money, how to provide for myself, and I would have gone the science route. I firmly believe that. Even now, I'm like, I should go back and get more science degree of any kind. Science engineering, for a couple of different reasons. I've hung out with engineers lately, and I'm like, you guys are so cool.
That's such an interesting statement to be like, yeah, I've hung out with some engineers lately.
Really? It's just
lately
cool.
I've been getting into engineers.
Yeah, I've been hanging out with engineers, and they're just watching people's. You can learn a lot about what people really do for a living, to provide for themselves. It's really wild, and when they're an engineer, their job is to solve.
Yeah,
that's those are the homies you want on your side. Collect your apocalypse team. Yeah. Engineers are on. You want to have strategy down. You want to have calming personalities to navigate the ship. I mean, I know I'm pivoting to apocalypse, but...
You always do.
Right.
But an engineer would be... it'd be an interesting thing to get into. I mean, I don't want to downplay engineering, but I mean, if you're talking problem solving, you're talking about how do we get from point A to point B? I mean, there's some producer hosty qualities in there.
Yeah, I'm putting engineer on my resume.
I mean, I'm sure
tonight.
Comedy engineer.
Yeah. I run away from social media consultant posts. I don't know how I would do with engineer. I also think that the second more hippie version of, which is probably the most likely, is I would love to be a part of learning about a winery, and learning the navigation of a winery and having maybe perhaps a restaurant.
Maybe in Napa? No. No.
I'm going to say no because it's
That's fair. That's fair.
But I would say if I could pick a place, I don't know, France. I mean, you know what I mean? It's that kind of dream, but the tangible idea would be to, work in that space and live in that bottling world, which I find to be fascinating. And I could be wrong. You're listeners might be able to tell me whether or not that's a cool biz.
Winemaking is, here's the thing.
Sofia Coppola can do it.
If Sofia Coppola can do it. Also, we're not talking about tomorrow. We're not talking about in a week. This is something that you commit yourself to. This is something where you build yourself up. Like we built ourselves up from people who had no idea how to do comedy to people who kind of know how to do comedy. It only took a decade or so.
It shifts so much, though.
Yeah.
It's like we just figured it out, and then they're like, and by the way,
you got to adapt.
now the whole world can see you always. And you're like, oh my God, what? Because I signed up for the world can see you sometimes.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
It's a very good point. Like, I signed up for the world can see you sometimes, not for always.
Yeah.
And they can see us all the time now, every time. And they expect you to be a part of all the time, every time. And I don't know if I'm growing, if I want to grow in real time in front of other eyes.
Yeah, millions of eyes potentially, as opposed to dozens to hundreds at a time.
Yeah, I didn't mean to sign up for World Star.
It's true, though. I mean, when we started, and boy, that I'm going to say that phrase a lot in life now, apparently.
Yeah,
back in my day. But for real, there was no social media, so we didn't even have to have social media handles.
Nothing.
But now, as a comedian, you're expected to not just learn it, but master it.
Yeah.
Find platforms before they're even big and invest in them.
Yeah.
That's how people get movie deals now. So it's like it's not just one full-time job worth of stress.
Right.
It's like 9.
Yeah.
Because you have to market yourself too.
Yeah.
It's oh boy, JC, you're speaking my language.
Yeah, and so that's why I learned pretty early on the tactical way I'd say to balance it, but that's the thing is the balance part of it matters. And in Los Angeles you'd think, and you'll see it at Largo, you'll see it at packed shows like Tiggs. It's like people will come. They will come. It's just how does one get to navigate that space? Yeah. And so Los Angeles is tricky. I've watched it fluctuate in different ways, but I've learned so much from watching other shows go on. And then I'm like, that's it for me. I'm never doing it again. I'm done. I'm done. And here I am this Thursday, downtown Los Angeles at an art gallery, which I'm
still doing.
But a monthly.
That's fine. You can do a monthly. That's healthy. I do a weekly, and boy, it is taxing.
I believe.
See, obviously, you have the capability to, I guess, dive into a world and through time perfect as best you can your method of doing it. So really, at this point, the world is your oyster. It's whatever you really want it to do. If I took away comedy and you want to start fresh, now I know that the time frame is a little daunting, but are we talking wine? Are we gonna bottle some JC Coccoli wine?
Okay, yeah. So right now, if you said no more comedy, I would. What's already cooking? I'd be.
Well, you've got some
climate stuff. I just wouldn't be able to work in the comedy department there. I would have to work more in like.
It's like very specific. Like, okay, these are the people you can't talk to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe we'll just say performance in general. Like the performance aspect is gone, but I mean, you can obviously still contribute to that cause.
Listen,
in some ways,
am I out of my mind? Like, unless very soon I become like Barbara Streisand style when I tour, eventually it's going to be done.
Yeah.
Like, I can't guarantee it, but like, I either want decked out everything, gorgeous, plush, everything in my green room with me and that hustle and that I got this, or I'm eventually going to be done. Like, it is. It's getting to that point now where I'm like,
it's all or nothing.
Caviar in the green room, or I'm not showing up anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I've made that decision with myself, being like, yeah, just test the boundaries and just go for it. And just, that's your life now. That's what you want. And it doesn't mean I'm disappointed. I just am aiming where I'm like,
yeah,
the clock's a ticking.
Let's go for the top.
Let's
baby.
go for the top. And I've had, experiences where that works in some ways. And that it comes to me in a way that my jobs have.
Yeah.
In the way that this business works. It's like the agent manager stuff, that's different than the climate stuff. It's still probably all linked and connected, but it's also a different world of business that I'm learning about too from my end.
Yeah.
And how my skills can be integrated into that. So I think that would be my safest, smartest, truthfully, economically intelligent, which is why I'm shifting anyway, bet.
To just get full on in the climate space.
Yeah, because I can get on board with policy and reasonings. I think actually a lot of human beings can. I think now more than ever, things are showing their true colors climate-wise in a way that we can see. The internet has helped that. We didn't know as much growing up. It was a crisis, but how could we have ever?
Yeah.
And now
it's more tangible now.
Now you're seeing it. You're walking in augmented reality to feel an earthquake simulation. It's happening. So it's to me, I'm like, all right, take away entertainment. That's cool. I can kind of, because I think I can be charming about climate. It doesn't have to be like wah wah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You're always going to have that performance element to you.
Not if I'm on Xanax.
Oh, well, get off of Xanax.
I'm on it. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
There's anything wrong. But you could use that performance skill set in a room where you have to sell something, a policy. You are, as a comedian, we're persuasive people at some level.
Yeah, that's why I try to get my facts right.
Yeah.
There are many shows where some of my facts are way off, and it is real funny.
You can find a list of those shows at jccoccoli.com.
And that's what used to be very charming about that.
Yeah.
The world seeing you sometimes versus always. It's like those charming moments where you get a fact wrong and it's what you said is not a racist phrase. Like you just are saying a fact wrong of a phrase. And I love that, but I also know now that like the all eyes are watching stuff is just one more step in the game.
Yeah.
If you want it to be, but also step out.
Well, it's also 2019. What's it going to be like in 2029?
Yeah, it's like moving so fast.
Yeah.
Like if I think about now, because you and I were, which is cool. You know what's cool is like when we first met each other 10 years ago, we were just like, well, we're in our paths. But now like we're older now. We're still at it, like working and hustling. So there's a mutual respect now. We're tired more than we used to be. So you're kind of like, well, how do you make money with less exercise work?
Yes.
And we're all kind of plotting out plans because there's ways to navigate it and be, I think, as a community successful.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be as individualistic as I think 10 years ago we thought it was, which I like. It creates community. Community is positive. Community works really well with climate, the city of Los Angeles banding together, like me hanging out with Garcetti's, like green sustainable sector. That's really, to me, that's cool. I'm like, I get it now. I get why people like get involved in like city work. It's like, it's actually...
You're doing something for someone. I mean, we're instead of doing stuff for ourselves, which is all comedy is.
Yeah.
That's some tangible, like, oh, this is for someone else.
Yeah, and I would say that there's always going to be some kind of excitement.
Yeah.
You know, those climate people, they get fucked up. They get fucked up.
In what way?
They
Are they
get
getting
lit.
fucked up?
They get
They partying?
lit.
They partying hard?
They're partying like the world's on fire.
And it is.
1.5 degrees Celsius. We have to get it down. We just first have to find out what Celsius means, and then we'll be fine. Step one. Somebody explain Celsius.
Is Celsius. Now, I always ask people, because we're tethered to Los Angeles for entertainment. But now, if you take that away, look what happens. You got a few more options. Would you stay in Los Angeles, or would you perhaps move on to somewhere else?
I believe this housing crisis is going to suck me out of my own life. It is because I sometimes, I'm a single woman in my 30s who makes normal human money and at times above normal human money. Yes, of course, one day I'll cross that threshold. I know. In the interim, the rent raising that has happened, like, I was out of the game. Thank God I found my place and stayed. Thank God you did.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be spending my hard-earned dollars on a pad that's like mediocre at best.
No, at some point you get to an age where you need more.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to have a house and land and goats and chickens. I want my eggs fresh. I want grass with my toes. Like, this was great in my 20s. The hustle was real. I just realized both my parents aren't in the business. Like, the nepotism I thought existed didn't. I don't know what I was thinking about how easy this would be. So
your priorities changed a little bit.
Yeah, because, mortality hits and you're like, okay. Yeah. So
that being said, where are you gonna end up?
Okay, so I love the idea of Toronto.
Okay.
New Zealand. Two different places. Yeah.
Not
so
Toronto,
let me just get it down to Toronto, New Zealand, Toronto, New Zealand. All right, I'm going to take back Toronto. New Zealand, Auckland, or Seattle, or Denver, or Austin.
Okay.
Or.
Just get an RV, JC. Jesus Christ.
Or. Brought to you by Green RVs. If you want to talk about a sponsor, let's talk about a sustainable wheel.
We're not there yet.
Oh, sorry. So, yes. Okay. So then mountains, forest area that I can still be in city-like. I Utah style.
Yeah, all the cities you mentioned had a very similar quality of there's urban, but there's also a way to escape to the woods if you need to.
Yes. And I think that the more I live in Los Angeles, I'm beginning to say like, oh, where do I want to... I have friends that have bought here and they're very satisfied with it, but they have only lived here maybe since 2010 and went back and forth to Toronto, actually. That's why I was like, maybe Toronto. But I want to.
You could visit them.
So they're like, yes, I'm staying here. And I'm like, I don't know, because I read about the fault line too. I need to look at that. Where the fault line is.
There's a lot of dangers in staking your claim in Los Angeles. There really is.
We'll cover that. Let me look it up real fast.
Let me just look up geology.
Because I want to know where the fault line, F-A-U-L.
Well, the fault line goes right through Hollywood, I believe.
Thank God.
Okay. Wow. JC, you can't talk like that on a public forum. You can't diss Hollywood, California. It's on the air.
In the words of Toy Story 4.
Come on now.
Trash.
Come on now.
Have you seen Toy Story 4?
I have. It's very good. It's very good.
Trash is good.
It's very good.
Okay, so I don't have internet.
That's fine. That's fine.
Your
that's
house,
fine.
and in that, I don't want to look anymore. So
suffice to say, Los Angeles, you could get out of here.
Yeah, I would get out of here. We can do anything pretty much anywhere. I love this place, but I'm learning that I really do either love Highland Park or the beach.
Yeah. You can't pick between the two.
I'm sure somebody can.
Well, it sounds to me like in this scenario, just to put a little bow on the exit strategy, is that JC is going to commit herself not to comedy so much, but to saving the damn planet. And she's going to do it with a beautiful surroundings of nature and maybe like a place with a patio.
Cut to her in Cincinnati.
In an insurance agency. That works too. Now, JC, we're going to take a little break. And we've already talked about sponsorships before, and maybe you've given a little hint, but we're going to find out who the sponsor for this week's episode is right after this. JC Coccoli, the moment has come to find out who the sponsor for this week's episode is. I'm entrusting you with a very important, very high-profile job right now. I'm trying to talk over the fact that there's some dogs barking now. Can we clear the dogs?
Clear.
All right, it worked. We need clean audio this because what we might be listening to right now is the future spokesperson for some major product. JC Coccoli, who is the sponsor for this week's episode?
This week's episode is brought to you by Keetsa. Better sleep, better days. Live best, love best when you sleep best. Hey everybody, JC here. I walked into the Keetsa on Abbott Kinney, which is out of my financial range. And I sat down on Keatsa's mattress pads. And it was, I don't even know if it was a mattress pad. It was just so comfortable and so lovely. And I have a fine mattress. It's a great mattress. But when I sat down on Keatsa's, so, hey guys, if you could get me a Keatsa, I would love it. If somebody works at Keatsa and wants to let me just test it.
I can't believe you just launched right into a commercial. Let's get the tagline clean again for Keatsa.
Better sleep. Better days. Live best, love best when you sleep best.
We even got a hi, I'm JC Coccoli on that one. Keatsa. I'm not picturing it in my mind. You describe what this is.
Okay, Keatsa.
It's a mat?
Keatsa, no, it's mattresses, and it's, rejuvenate, recharge, renew. Keatsa makes it possible. And then there's 6 styles for your comforter, and you find the right mattress for a good night's sleep. Look, it's like
let me look at one
fluffy.
of these. And maybe I can describe it a little bit. I mean, it looks like a very modern mattress. Is this a memory foam situation, I'm guessing? This is not a spring.
No.
If I'm looking at the picture, it feels like you're just on a giant marshmallow
Molds
pad.
into your body.
Molds to your body. I mean, this looks like a mattress you sleep in at a hotel you can't really afford.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, oh, man, I'm going to have to go back to my house.
You're probably sleeping on fiberglass.
With other mattresses, not Keatsa.
Yeah, but not Keatsa.
So you got to check out the Keatsa showroom.
Yeah,
did you test run one of those?
Yeah,
babies?
I tested a couple. I tested California King because it is...
Wow, step right into the Cadillac. You're not even going to start with the small one.
It's important for me to manifest what I think I deserve, and that is to have a California King and a big old bed and a place to just roll around and have, if I want puppies to come hang out with me, like everybody deserves a nice big puffy space if you can have it. So Keatsa, if you're listening, let's do this.
Let's do this. Send it right to her.
You're
house.
in Venice. I'm in Marina del Rey. We're a beach away.
Do you have room for a California King?
Not in the current apartment.
But we're gonna,
but
it's
we're
like
getting
you dress for the job you want,
Yep.
not the job you have.
Getting it anyway, putting it in the room. One big mattress.
This is my apartment. It's a California King Keatsa mattress. So check it out. Promo code JC Coccoli wants a mattress.
Yes.
And get yourself 20% off of a Keatsa mattress.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that.
Oh.
You're acting like I just officially. I'm getting word right here, JC. Yes, Keatsa's in. All right, JC. Enough about mattresses. Let's talk about you. If there's anything that people should know about, this is the moment to tell them. JC Coccoli, how can we find out more? What should we know? What should be in our radar?
Listen, guys, I'm available on social media at JC Coccoli, Coccoli. Instagram, I'll try and talk to you as long as you don't say anything too harsh about my comedy work. And so I will be in downtown Los Angeles this Thursday, 7:30. The doors open, 8 o'clock. Show begins. It's Jenna Friedman, Otsko, Nicole Amy Schreiber, Brendan Scannell. I'm going to host it. Peroni's dropping beers off because I'm still edgy. I get sponsors.
You got that Peroni sponsorship, and you didn't have them sponsor this episode?
Peroni and Keatsa. My 2 favorite things.
Put them together. You got yourself a Saturday night.
You really do. And so and then I'll be in London July 1 through 12. So I'm looking forward to having some of your fan base out there.
Across the pond.
Yes.
JC, thank you so much for stopping in and rapping with me. It's fun to catch up with people that I've known for a long time.
I love
really
rapping with you.
Thank you so much. We should rap again sometime.
You're talented, and I can't wait to hear this podcast. I've been trying to listen to everybody's podcasts so I can see what everybody's been up to.
But you have to wait until the episode that you're on?
I can listen to Alan's so
yeah,
I can
give it Alan's and then maybe tune in to see how we did on this one.
Because I want to know how he does his advertisements.
Oh, well, he's the best. That's been Exit Strategy for this week. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Keatsa Mattress, for whatever you decide to dump on our front doors. And as for you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Exit Strategy. We'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya. This week's episode is brought to you by Keetza. Better sleep, better days. Keetza. Live best, love best when you sleep best.